Is Kurt Warner set to join us there? The Hall of Famer, MVP of the Super Bowl, two-time NFL MVP. And you can hear him on Westwood One as their analyst and NFL Network analyst as well. Good to talk to you again. Can you explain to me how benching Caleb Williams in Chicago would be beneficial for both the Bears and Caleb Williams?
Dan, good to be with you. It's been a while. Just to start there, I think we see so often in this league, these young guys come in, slated to be the starter. We throw them in, and they don't have the tools. They don't have the information, skill set that they need to succeed at the NFL level. And so a lot of these guys are simply what I call surviving. It's like, here, take the ball and run out there and try to do whatever you can to be successful without us giving you the tools that you need to be able to do it. And so I know it's always hard to go with a young guy and then pull back from a young guy. That's why I'm always a proponent of starting the old guy, and then you can work to the young guy when they're ready. I think it could be beneficial to let Caleb step back and to let him kind of see how it's done, get acclimated with what the speed is and what the complexity is and what we're asking him to do within these pro offenses. And then when he's reinserted, he is in a position to fully succeed, which is both beneficial for him and obviously beneficial for the organization as well.
How long did you sit before you got your opportunity with the Rams?
Well, I mean, I sat for a full year, so I was on the team.
Well, even before that, you were on practice squads and.
Right. Well, I mean, I was actually all over the world, Dan. So I wasn't on a practice squad before that. Just 98 was my first year, so I was kind of the scout team quarterback in 98, and then obviously took over 99 when Trent got hurt. But but again, this is twofold: is that even though I sat on the bench for 4 years in college and played in arena football and what have you, I had the skill set in terms of understanding how to play the position the way it was asked to play it in the NFL, the understanding of how to read defenses, see things, process information. So sitting could be beneficial without a doubt. But to me, it's so much about, do you have the skill set where playing, you'll learn and grow through playing, but you've got enough of a skill set to be successful. And, I was talking a little bit about Anthony Richardson yesterday. And then you liken that to guys like Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck, who were guys that were cerebral, guys that had the tools to be successful. Now, Peyton threw a bunch of interceptions his first year, had to go through some growing pains, but he had the skill set to be able to survive and play and do some good things through that. Andrew Luck the same way, but I think there's a lot of young quarterbacks that are taught differently in college football, that it becomes more about plug and play guys, athletic guys. Hey, use your athleticism more than learning the position. And when you get to the NFL, it's hard to live in that world. Even if you're a great athlete, it's hard to live in the athletic world, and you've got to do those other things. And if you don't have that skill set, this game can swallow you up very quickly.
Yeah, and maybe you can speak to this, because I talk about this a lot, that the game is so fast in the NFL, you have to throw guys open. In college, guys are open. I mean, if you play at a big-time program, you're going to have multiple receivers to throw to. But explain to us, the audience, what it's like when there is a small window, when you have to have anticipation, where when it's not there, you'd have to eat it. Like, you can't scramble around. And these are things that these college quarterbacks come in, hey, I can extend a play. I'm the next Patrick Mahomes. No, you're not. But that ability to fit a ball in a tight window. Explain that.
Yeah, it's a great point. I was interviewing Bryce Young last week and asked him what the biggest challenge was in the NFL. And he said the biggest challenge is how consistently good the players are on every play. Whereas in Alabama, what you might call Alabama Open versus NFL Open is that, you're going to have all this space between a receiver and a defender, where if you're a little bit late with the football, or if the football's not perfect, there's that ability to adjust and still have a completion. In the NFL, if you're a little bit late, if you're a little bit behind, that's an incompletion. That could be an interception. That could be the difference between winning and losing a football game. So you're so right, Ian. Some of it is the key of reading body language, right? So a guy's not even open yet, but if I can read the body language of the defender, knowing, oh, his hips are turned this way, I can let that ball go because he can't make up for that. If I've got to wait and see my guy open, Now that guy has the ability to correct and make up for that ground that he didn't have before. So the ability to anticipate, see the big picture, know exactly what I'm looking at. And then the other part, Dan, that I think is lost on a lot of these young guys is the physical technique to be ready to throw and able to throw quickly. A lot of these guys are back there bouncing or their feet aren't set. And all of a sudden, the play says throw it. And now they've got to drop, get set, and throw it. And it's like, sorry, too late. So being able to clean up your technique is such a big part of this as well. So when you see it, the ball can actually come out right away. And again, you're playing ahead of the game, or you're playing the game faster, which allows you the benefit of being more successful in a lot of situations.
Okay, but how do you explain Jaden Daniels? How do you explain C.J. Stroud? I mean, even Drake May has played pretty well.
Agreed. I think the first thing I'll say, I'll go right back to technique. You look at C.J. Stroud, you look at Jaden Daniels, those guys have strong technique. So they're ready to play quarterback. They're ready to throw the football.
Wait, but what are they doing that Caleb Williams is not doing?
Well, I mean, again, this would be a long conversation, Dan, just in terms of the ability to be prepared. So they're loaded into their legs. They're set. Their balance and their base is always there. So they're playing heavy into the ground as opposed to playing high, playing on their toes, playing in a position where they have to drop and move. The more movement we make between set or time that we make the decision and set to throw, the more chance we have to miss. The less movement we have, the more efficient we're going to be. So those are two guys that have come into the league very technically sound. So they don't have a lot of that wasted movement. They're always ready to play and throw, which gives them the advantage. And then there's the other side that some of these guys have learned how to play the game the right way earlier on. And so I've always made this contention. It's really hard to learn how to play quarterback. And I say that simply more in the pocket quarterback, reading, timing, anticipation, where my eyes need to be on a particular concept. It's way harder to learn that when you're playing against the best players in the world and you're playing on a Sunday afternoon than learning it when you're young and being able to hone those skills. And so some of these guys have been taught that, have played in systems that have required that more than other guys. And we're expecting those other guys to be able to play at the same level as quickly, and it just doesn't happen.
Kurt Warner, the Hall of Famer, joining us. He was on the call with Rich Eisen with the NFL Network broadcast of the Giants and the Panthers game this past Sunday in Munich. What's wrong with Daniel Jones?
Well, I mean, I really actually think Daniel Jones, in terms of decision-making, in terms of where he's gone with the football, has played pretty decent this year. But I think there are a number of things, and I think it starts with the processing part of it, is he doesn't seem to quite process things fast enough. So his eyes are in the right spot, but he's just late in making those decisions. And it goes back to what we were talking about. If you're a little bit late, you're late in the NFL. You can't make up for some of those things. The other times is, and it's hard to know when you just watch film, there's other times when it seems as if he's looking at it and he doesn't throw it. Like somebody's open in the direction that he's looking at and he's not throwing it. And so you always have to ask yourself, why is that? Is he simply looking in the right direction but doesn't really know what he's seeing? Or is it just late in him seeing it? And so by the time he finally, calculates and makes that decision, he feels like he's too late to throw the football. But something in that regard has to speed up, because I don't think when I watch him, I don't look at him and go, man, he doesn't know where he's going, or his eyes are in the wrong spot. It's just he is not pulling the trigger and hitting those opportunities that are in front of him. And then, as we saw in that game, if you watch the game, and then there's a number of throws that he just flat out misses. And you've got to be able to make those layup throws consistently in the NFL to be that top-notch guy. So when you talk about processing seems to be a little delayed and he's missing too many layups, it's just not a conducive formula to win at this level, especially when you're playing with a team that doesn't have any real dominant areas around you. Quarterback is going to be asked to do more and have to make more consistent plays in that regard.
What's the first thing to go on a quarterback?
The first thing to go, I think it's the physical part of things, that I think the mental side of things.
But I asked this about Aaron Rodgers.
Yes. Okay.
Like I'm watching the end of Aaron Rodgers,
Yeah.
right?
I think we are for sure. And I think with Aaron, and I think it's just the comfort of playing the position because I watch the ball come out of his hands and I say he can still throw it well enough and as well as anybody in terms of throwing it. But I think it's the comfort of him being out a year, him being a little bit older, the expectations where he just doesn't look comfortable playing the position anymore. He's moving too fast. His mind seems to be moving fast because his feet are moving fast. He's out of that comfort zone. Whereas when you watched him, in so many years, it was like he was poised. He was never panicking. He never looked like he was playing too fast. And I think that's what happens when we feel like we're losing something. I don't know what that is, whether it's control, whether it's the physical part of things, is that it's easy to start going, oh my gosh, I can't do everything that I did before. And the game starts moving faster for us than it did early in our career. And I think that's how that's what you have to avoid. And for me, it was the mental side of it. I felt like mentally I was sharper than I'd ever been. So I could see and process and think fast. So it didn't cause me to panic because maybe some of the other things had dwindled a little bit.
Great to catch up with you again. Thank you, Kurt.
You as always.
That's Kurt Warner, Hall of Famer and MVP of the Super Bowl, two-time NFL MVP during the regular season.